This is the all-new Mercedes-Benz W214 E-Class, the 6th generation if you're counting from when the E-Class name was first used. And we have with us today the E200 Avantgarde model. So in Malaysia, at the time of filming, we have two variants, both CKD from the get-go. There's this, the E200, and then there's also the E350e plug-in hybrid. Now, as far as prices are concerned, this kicks off at 355,888 ringgit, and then the E350e goes for 418,888 ringgit. Now, while the BMW G60-520i goes for 332,800 ringgit, that figure is also without the BMW service and repair inclusive package, which goes for another 26,900 ringgit. So, in terms of pricing then, it's a tale as old as time. Mercedes-Benz E-Class versus BMW 5 Series. So, if you're in the market for relatively no-nonsense, tech-filled premium executive sedan, is the new W214 E200 your next perfect car? Let's find out. First things first, the looks. So for something as legendary and iconic as the Mercedes-Benz E-Class, I'm quite happy that Mercedes has chosen to evolve the design and create something relatively fresh without making it too controversial. However, I'm still kind of bummed that in Malaysia we don't get the exclusive line where you get the three-pointed star mounted on top of the bonnet right here. Because to me, growing up, that has always been one of the most defining views when you're behind the wheel of a Mercedes-Benz. The front grille to me has just the right amount of aggression, and to be honest, I'm kind of glad that the Malaysian models don't get the illuminated grille surround because, in my personal opinion, I think that's a bit too tasteless. In any case, moving down, I also kind of prefer the look of the Avantgarde front bumper as opposed to the AMG line one, which to me seems a bit out of character for an E-Class. So far so good. However, what I'm not too happy about is this, reflector LEDs, because only the E350e gets the digital light setup. I mean, come on lah. So at the side, we've got pop-out and illuminated door handles, and on the E200, 19-inch wheels, which in this day and age may sound a bit small, but trust me, the proportions are alright, they look pretty decent. I guess it helps that the E200 sits a little bit lower compared to the E350 as well. In any case, in terms of wheelbase, it's 2,961mm, which is 22mm longer than the outgoing W213, and crucially, 60mm longer than the G60 BMW 5 Series. At the rear, I'm still not sure how I feel about the style motifs within the taillights. Because you see, when I drove the car in Austria a year ago, I felt that it looked pretty garish to me, and 1 year on, it's still, well, I'm still quite uncertain about how it fits into the bigger picture. In any case, saving grace is that on the E200 at least, we don't get fake exhaust outlets. Instead, we get these mock exhaust cutouts and a chrome strip running across it. Pop open the hands-free powered boot and you get 540 litres of boot space, which crucially is still bigger than the 520 litres that you get in the G60 5 Series. Now, the boot opening itself is fairly low and wide, so you shouldn't have any problems loading in a standard 20 and 24-inch luggage set as so. There's also plenty of room to slot it way deep into the boot. And should you need more space, you can always just fold down the 40-20-40 split folding seats. Also, there's no spare tyre here, only a tyre repair kit under this tray, which also hides a bit more storage space. Step in, sink into the Artico leather seats, grip the Napa wheel, and first impressions are a mixed bag. You see, my legs are skewed to the side thanks to a narrow footwell, and while it may seem a bit too conservative with an all-black interior, it's punctuated by this open-pore black ashwood trim which gives it just enough contrast to keep things interesting, so that's good. But I'm not a fan of these three-pointed stars scattered all over the dashboard. I think it kind of cheapens the interior. And also, in the E200 at least, we don't even get a sunroof. And this brings me to one of the biggest differences between the E200 and the E350e, the MBUX Super Screen setup. So in the higher spec variant, the front passenger gets another 12.3-inch screen as well as a selfie camera so they can take pictures of themselves or also join an online meeting with apps like Zoom installed. However, do take note that the feed is only live when the car is stationary. In any case, the E200 makes do with a 12.3-inch digital cluster as well as a 14.4-inch screen for the infotainment system. Of course, Apple CarPlay and Android Auto wireless all present, plus a 360-degree camera, which is actually very clear, very sharp and very nice. Now onto the screen itself, which features the zero-layer interface. So what does it mean in plain English? Basically, it highlights all the most frequently used functions such as aircon controls and radio controls, instead of burying them behind submenu after submenu. Now, would I have preferred a physical button for it? Yes, obviously, because you still have to swipe on the screen to adjust the fan speed and the temperature. And moreover, in this case now, you have to swipe at it twice because it's not even grouped together in the same touch point as it was in earlier models. Okay, so on to the downsides. In the E200, we only get a 7-speaker setup as opposed to the 21-speaker Burmester sound system you get in the E350E. Also, this is a major breakpoint for me. You don't have seat ventilation and double glazed windows. So as for storage spaces and amenities, so let's see. Right beneath this center storage here, we've got a wireless charger, we've got 2 cup holders and 2 USB-C ports. And then moving back, pop open the center armrest, we get another 2 USB-C ports for a total of 4. And I would say below average storage beneath the center armrest. And then no cutouts here, so you can't put cards by the door handle. However, good news is that the side door bins can easily fit a half-liter water bottle. Moving on to the rear seats, and as usual, the front seat has been adjusted to my driving position. For reference, I'm 184 centimeters tall, and I have just about I would say 2 tennis balls worth of leg room. And there's also plenty of space, well not plenty, decent amount of space to slide my feet underneath the seats, so that's good. And in terms of headroom, if I sit upright, it's one tennis ball worth of headroom. Now there's a very prominent middle hump, so I guess the middle passenger, he or she is not going to have a good time right here. Now as for amenities and storage spaces back here, so we've got 2 aircon vents, but it's a bit of a step down compared to the BMW 5 Series because there's no separate climate control, so it's just purely a dual zone climate control as opposed to the quad zone setup you get in the 5 Series. So that's a bit of a bummer. And then down below there's a bit of a tray, I guess, to store your phone. And then down below that we've got 2 more USB-C ports. Storage spaces, we've got seat pockets at the back of both seats. We've got 2 cup holders, and again, no cutouts for the door handle, but the door bins, as usual, can fit a half-liter water bottle fairly easily. Other goodies also include manual sunshade and 2 hooks on either side of the car. Okay, now on to the way it drives, so let's get the tech specs out of the way first. So, Mercedes-Benz E200 Avantgarde, a mild hybrid unlike the plug-in hybrid E350E, but both are powered by the same 2-litre M254 turbocharged 4-cylinder engine. And in the case of the E200, we've got a total of 204 horsepower and 320 Newton meters of torque, going to the rear wheels via a 9-speed automatic transmission. Now the 0 to 100 time, that's quoted at 7.5 seconds. And as for fuel consumption, so I've been driving about for give or take 70 plus kilometers with a split of 70-30 city highway driving, and I've managed to get a figure of 9.8 liters per 100 kilometers. So how does the E200 drive then? At city speeds, there's more than enough power on tap, obviously, and the gearbox seems to be able to find the right gear for the most part. Ride comfort is a bit on the firm side, but do keep in mind that we don't have the airmatic suspension here. So generally, riding over those rumble strips, crashing through potholes, it's not an absolute disaster, but I will say that it can stand to be a little bit softer. And I've also bottomed out the car on 1 or 2 separate occasions. I also wish that the Malaysian spec cars came with rear wheel steering, not just for added high speed handling and stability, but also, better maneuverability when it comes to parking or crawling speeds. And then you get up to highway speeds, and this is where I think the new E-Class really begins to shine. So compared to the outgoing W214, I felt that the previous car was a little bit on the harsher and firmer side, which is not quite in character for an E-Class, especially when you're comparing it, in the traditional sense against the 5 Series. And now, I'm happy to report that the W214 is firmly in the comfort and luxury camp, which is no bad thing. Let me be clear about this, okay? High-speed stability, A+. The car feels really, really tied down at highway speeds and beyond. This is the car you drive at 7/10 or maybe 8/10 at most, because if you start throwing it into corners, it's going to lose its footing a bit as you start to feel the body control begin to turn a bit iffy. And also, if you were to mash the throttle, there is a noticeable lag before you take off. So, drive this car with smooth, measured inputs and you'll have a very relaxed, comfortable cruiser. Now, one complaint is the lack of double-glazed windows, which, kind of ruins the refinement a little bit, because loud motorcycles and cars passing by means that the sound can intrude into the cabin a little bit. Now, while it's not a complete disaster, it can be better, as WapCar's own instrumental testing recorded 62 decibels at 110 km per hour. Now, in terms of safety kit and ADAS features, the new E-Class comes with the Driver Assistance Plus package, which brings Level 2 semi-autonomous driving. Now, amongst the many features include AEB, Distronic Adaptive Cruise Control with stop and go, lane centering assist, and active lane keeping assist. So while all these features are nice to have, it has to be said that the consistency of the calibration could use some improvement. I say this because, on some occasions, I've had the smoothest experience when it comes to braking and acceleration. And then I go out for another drive and suddenly the whole experience isn't as cohesive anymore. So, how does the Mercedes-Benz W214 E-Class fare? Well, I like it. I think it's a decent enough car, it drives well enough, it looks good enough without being too ostentatious, and I feel it has just the right amount of tech without being overwhelming. Since I'm going to go out on a limb here and assume that most E200 owners are of the matured kind, and therefore prefer not to be bombarded by technology from every direction. And also, to make the decision even easier today, it's clearer cut from the 5 Series. If you want a sportier executive sedan, get the 5. If you want more comfort, get the E-Class, which is exactly the way it should be. My biggest complaint is that the spec sheet can be longer, because in some aspects, it is quite obvious that the E200 is the lower spec variant of the two. And in this market, you really don't want your customers to feel that shortchanged now, do you? Yeah, thought so. And on that note, I think it's time we call it a day. Thank you so much for watching. Remember to like, comment, subscribe. Every bit of support, we appreciate it. I'll see you guys in the next one. Drive safe, take care.